Joining us on the line right now is Fox News national security analyst extraordinaire, KT McFarland. Hello, KT. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. And I want to start with a conversation about this story that is starting to burble everywhere. It has to do with emails and the national security ramifications of perhaps them being on Hillary Clinton's private server. There is a story, and I'll read it from the AP. This is the AP version of the story. The State Department said Tuesday that John Kerry, when he was a senator, used a private email account to send information now deemed classified to then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on her personal server. Spokesman John Kirby said then Senator Kerry used a non-official account to send a May 19, 2011 message to Clinton and then National Security Advisor Tom Donilon. This continues to get more interesting and more interesting.
Well, and especially if part of the web of private emails was from President Obama, as earlier reports have indicated.
Yeah, so maybe 22 or 23 times the president emailed Hillary Clinton on her private email server.
You know, what this all circles back to is what happened on the night of Benghazi. Now, I know that Secretary Clinton will say, look, we've gone over this a million times, everybody else will. But there was a conversation of some sort, online, on the phone, in person, between the President and the Secretary of State and probably the head of the CIA that night. And we've never really found out anything about that. And maybe it's ancient history, maybe the train has left the station, but I think it would be a very important issue as Secretary Clinton tries to become president because it really speaks to the integrity issue. And what does she do when the chips are down? How is she at that 3 a.m. phone call? Does she panic? Does she throw people under the bus? Or does she, to borrow expression, man up and deal with it?
Hi, KT. It's
Hi,
Mercedes. Wanted to quickly ask you, you know, Hillary basically talks about that the intelligence community has gone amok, you know, that basically it's their problem, it's not her problem.
Oh, the whole overclassification
thing. Overclassification of the emails. How do you think this is really going to impact her? As we know, it's had some of effect on the campaign trail right now, but not as much as we were thinking amongst the Democrats.
My feeling about it all, having been part of that system for a long time, and I do think there is something to be said that the classification is run amok, but the majority of the American people, they don't get it. I mean, who cares? Secret, top secret, what's the difference? Private email server, government, what's the difference? What everybody understands, though, is bribery. And if at the bottom of this FBI investigation, which it apparently is part of the FBI investigation, is to say, was there bribery? Was there corruption? Was there a connection between countries and companies who donated generously to the Clinton Global Initiative, who paid Bill Clinton far more than the normal going rate for a former president to give speeches because they wanted favorable consideration in deals or issues that they had before Hillary Clinton's State Department. Now, if that connection can be made, everybody gets that. And maybe Hillary Clinton ultimately doesn't get indicted by the Justice Department. But if the FBI has 150 agents working 24/7 full-time on this issue, and the director of the FBI has said that they've opened a second investigation into criminal activity, that means they are definitely onto something. And even if the Justice Department says, when presented with the evidence, and say, well, we don't really care, we're just not going to go after Hillary Clinton, it'll all leak out.
KT McFarland, a lot of focus right now after the Iowa caucus on the three candidates from the Republican Party who, you know, theoretically got their ticket punched. Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio. Now, of course, everything can change 6 days from now at the New Hampshire primary, but focusing on those three for a moment. From a national security perspective, what's your analysis, briefly, on where all three stand? Are they sort of similar, or what are the differences?
Well, they're all in the same. I think they're sort of, yeah, I mean, what I'm looking for is someone who can do what Reagan did, which is build up the military, have a strong national defense, but then not have to use it, not go to war every place, and particularly not go into wars that we can't win. And if that's the criterion, I think that Cruz and Donald Trump are more in that vein, and Marco Rubio as well. So I'm very happy with all those three guys. I think any one of the three of them could be Reagan's heir in national security.
One talking point I've heard about Rubio this week in the last couple of days is that he isn't necessarily as reluctant to exercise military force. He's a little more hawkish.
Yes, I would agree with that. He would be, if you put sort of Cruz and Trump in the middle, and where would you put Rubio? And I would put Jeb Bush and the neocons on the very far right of that continuum. Rubio is sort of halfway between the two.
All right, we'll have to leave it right there. KT McFarland, it is always a pleasure.
Thank you.